Possibly the strongest Uchiha ever. Not a lot of people have heard of his story of how during the First Shinobi War, almost 100 years ago, he became a hero and tragically died at a young age. He existed in the same era as an older Hashirama and Tobirama, being the same age as Danzo and Hiruzen, yet he still stood out as one of the greatest of his time, being most definitely the strongest Uchiha of his time. Just for reference, Hiruzen, who became the strongest Hokage, held this Uchiha in high regard, because during the First Shinobi War he saved him and Danzo many times. So who am I talking about? I'm talking about Kagami Uchiha. Now the name might sound kind of familiar because Tobirama respects his legendary status, and you might have heard his name being thrown here and there as well. Now you guys might think that like I'm over exaggerating or something, but at least hear his story out first and then decide. So what is his story? In the anime, when he was a child during the village's creation, he was seen wearing this typical collared black Uchiha shirt with a clan symbol on the back. He's one of the first ever to graduate from the academy when it was newly created by Tobirama, and he grew up with Hiruzen and Danzo around the same age. Despite Tobirama's hatred towards Uchiha, he had to acknowledge Kagami as a prodigy. His sense of loyalty was so great that he never fell victim to the clan's curse of hatred, something that normally happened and had a high chance of happening after awakening the Sharingan like he did with Madara and a lot of other evil Uchiha. That's why he was the only Uchiha that Tobirama believed in, so maybe he wasn't as bigoted as we thought he was. Kagami, like the other Uchiha, had black hair which fell over and around his headband, but more interestingly, he was very uniquely tiny and hard to hit. In fact, Studio Period have these official sheets for Kagami's design which show that he was only around 4'9" around the time the Valley of the End was created. So his size made him like this tricky opponent and misled people into thinking he was like a kid, which he obviously wasn't. He was a very capable and notorious ninja, and known for being abnormally strong even amongst the Uchiha. But like all Uchiha, his strong emotions would enhance his strength, so he'd only get stronger. And this takes us onto the First Shinobi War. During the First Shinobi War, Kagami was selected to be one of the 6 who worked under the second Hokage, Tobirama, within his Escort Unit, alongside Hiruzen and Danzo, and they were all Jonin at the time, probably higher level Jonin, like Onbu level, at least bare minimum. But we all know the famous story. During this time period, during the First Shinobi War, Tobirama and the Escort Unit had finished a difficult battle, and on their way back they were ambushed and surrounded by the Kaku Force. A lot of people claim that Kaku wasn't actually in the Kaku Force and this team was actually built to hunt Kaku down, but that's not true. This was his team, he was a part of it, the leader. We know this because Shikamaru says according to legend Kaku was the one who led the force. Now that Escort Unit that was surrounded by the Kaku Force, it was over for them. The Kaku Force were inescapable, so Hiruzen actually volunteered himself to be a decoy, but fatigued Tobirama said that he would take that role instead and sacrificed himself. As he departed, he passed the title of Hokage to Hiruzen before being killed by Kaku. Now, how come nobody else did anything against Kaku? How come Tobirama, Kagami, Hiruzen, Danzo weren't strong enough to face them? Well, the Kaku Force isn't a joke, it's a special team of at least 20 S-rank shinobi from a cloud village. But most importantly, its leader was Kaku, who at this point had, with his brother, gained Nine-Tails chakra, being able to fight the Nine-Tails and actually consume his flesh, which is kind of impressive because it was the full Nine-Tails. Even Minato struggled with that. Even in their base forms, with their legendary 6 Paths weapons, when Kaku was alive, he could apparently fight the 5 Kage according to the databook, if he could efficiently use the ninja tools I'm talking about, which he could since he was exceptional at using them. It's probably for that reason the Raikage thought if he transformed, he would have been invincible during the war arc. But a lot of people don't take into consideration he was also reanimated, so he wasn't as strong as he was when he was alive. Plus Darui isn't that weak. It's stated in the databooks that he mastered the use of his sage tools, even through using it like once. And like I said, if you're a master of those legendary 6-path ninja tools, then you become somebody who's capable of fighting the 5 Kage by themselves. And that's pretty impressive in itself, that's something Madara was shown to do, and it was shown as a very impressive feat. Anyway, Kagami and the Escort Unit and Tobirama had to face this unit. Well, they didn't even fight them. But the reason that they weren't even able to contend with them was, like I said, they were fatigued. They had just come back from a mission. So it's not like it was a fair fight anyway. We can't really use this to gauge how strong Kagami was. After this point, Kagami became a father, during most likely his early 20s. Since we know he did have a kid, I'll explain why shortly. But right after this, he did die. I think he died around the age of 25, as stated in his databook section. Now this is where it gets kind of interesting. We know that his direct descendant is confirmed to be Shisui, who would go on to inherit his will of fire rather than Uchiha's curse of hatred, just like Kagami. And you know what, they do look kind of similar. While it is said that Shisui is Kagami's descendant, the exact relationship is unknown. Like he could be his grandfather, we don't really know for sure. Along with their strong devotion towards his own clan, Kagami was noted to be dedicated completely to Konoha, having done everything for his village. Kinda similar to Itachi. I guess now the meat and bones of the video. How powerful was Kagami? Well, as an Uchiha, Kagami had a powerful chakra. We know that for sure. He had his Sharingan, which granted him various advantages and abilities. These included seeing the flow of chakra, the ability to recognize genjutsu, using genjutsu, noticing different forms of chakra, having like precognition, foresight, clairvoyance, that kind of thing. You know, he could copy different jutsu. You guys know how the Sharingan works. But it's never really known if he obtained the Mangekyo Sharingan. If he did, then there's not that much that can be said about it because it's never shown. We just don't know what his Mangekyo Sharingan was. But most likely, if I'm being honest, since we never see him use the Mangekyo Sharingan, or him even being hinted to have it, I doubt we ever even achieved it, due to his happy and kind nature. A lot of people think that makes him weak, but I don't think that's necessarily true. You know, people think that hatred fuels and strengthens a Sharingan. While that isn't technically wrong, it's not technically right, because we do know strong emotions also strengthen the Sharingan. That's why Tobirama called the Sharingan eyes that reflect the heart. He even most likely was talking about Kagami in this analogy, as he brought him up shortly afterward. In the anime, Kagami's visual prowess was praised by Danzo for saving him multiple times, and this is where his obsession with Uchiha most likely begun as well. When it comes to power scaling, Kagami's descendant Shisui, who was hailed as the strongest Uchiha of his time, and the wielder of the Mangekyo Sharingan, actually admitted that he was inferior to his ancestor Kagami, claiming that he was nowhere near his power and hated being compared to him. While he could just be very modest, I don't think he's actually lying about this. Since around this time period, and the Uchiha clan in general like measuring power, it's a pretty important aspect of their life and culture. Now, if this is true, this is pretty important since it would make him a lot stronger than Itachi at the time of the Uchiha massacre, and Shisui, despite not even having a Mangekyo Sharingan, which just goes to show how strong Kagami was. Like, imagine if he unlocked the Mangekyo Sharingan, how strong would he be? He'd be like a Mangekyo level stronger than Shisui, possibly even stronger. Which is kind of impressive since Shisui is stated to have the greatest Shunshin in the Uchiha ever. And the Shunshin is when you concentrate your chakra into your feet or any part of your body to move very quickly. Shisui in the 4th data book, which covers I believe up to Kaguya, even states the Koto Amatsukami, which is Shisui's Mangekyo Sharingan dojutsu power, is the strongest genjutsu, which to be honest probably isn't true, or is subjective at the very least, since Koto Amatsukami works in a very unique way, so you might be able to consider it like maybe the control it has over you is more powerful than something like the Infinite Tsukuyomi, or is more subtle, but it doesn't work on the same scale, so like, I guess it depends on what you think is more important, the scale or the grasp it has over you. So all of this might mean that Kagami may be quicker than Shisui and even Madara since he was a part of the clan, possibly having the best genjutsu, but obviously take that with a grain of salt. He might have actually just been stronger than Shisui because of a forbidden jutsu or something. I don't really know for sure, but it does kind of seem like he thinks he would lose if he fought Kagami one-on-one. So keep that in mind, since he doesn't even think they're in the same league. During the First Shinobi War, there was another Uchiha named Hikaku, who should have been in his prime during the First Shinobi War, since he would have been in his late 20s to early 30s, and he was actually called the most talented Uchiha of his time, despite only being 2 years younger than Madara, so he belonged to Madara's era, yet somehow he was inferior to this kid Kagami, meaning that Kagami's potential may have actually been more insane than anybody in the clan up until that point, which includes Madara, Izuna, Hikaku, all of these people. So it's not impossible, and he could have reached insane levels of power if he wasn't actually killed in his mid-20s. Fun fact, did you know that Kagami's name literally means mirror in Japanese, which is heavily associated with the Uchiha clan? For example, the Sharingan directly translates into the mirror wheel eye, so he's almost like the embodiment of the clan. And the Mangekyo Sharingan is said to mean 1,000 flowers, so together the Mangekyo Sharingan means kaleidoscope technically. We also know that like there's sacred weapons that Itachi Susanoo carries like a Yata mirror, Some heroes are just heavily associated with the clan and the Sharingan, quite literally. Kagami were definitely very powerful, had insane levels of potential. Obviously, we don't have a lot of information about his story and life. I could only go off what was told by the data books, the manga, the anime, that kind of thing, and only use those sources. So obviously in the comment section you can let me know how strong you think he is. Maybe you know something about his story that I don't. If you enjoyed this video, like the video, subscribe, it definitely helps me out. And you can also check out my other videos as well. I try to put as much effort as I can and research as I can into these videos. Anyway, thanks for making it to the end and I'll see you next time. Peace.